Under the Friday night lights, all eyes are on Arch Manning to see if he can continue his family's quarterback dynasty. 5-star, number 1 recruit, the next great Manning. Arch Manning was born on April 27, 2005. He grew up in Louisiana with his parents Cooper and Ellen and his siblings May and Hyde. Chances were high that Arch was going to be an elite athlete, carrying the Manning legacy from Isidore Newman High School to college to hopefully the NFL. His grandpa Archie Manning was the second pick in the 1971 draft and was an outstanding QB for the New Orleans Saints, Houston Oilers, and Minnesota Vikings in the 70s and 80s. His dad Cooper was the star wide receiver at Isidore Newman, but before his freshman year at Ole Miss, he was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, a narrowing of the spine and pinching of the nerves that abruptly ended his football career. He was said to be the best athlete of the 3 brothers. You may be familiar with Arch's oldest uncle, Peyton, who played 14 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts and 4 with the Denver Broncos. Not only did he win 2 Super Bowls, but he racked up 5 MVPs, 14 Pro Bowls, and is on every list of the top 5 quarterbacks ever. He changed the way the position is played forever with his ability to adjust at the line of scrimmage. You might know his younger uncle Eli as well, who was drafted first overall in the 2004 NFL Draft to the San Diego Chargers, but was immediately traded to the New York Football Giants on draft night. Eli spent 16 seasons in the Big Apple, winning 2 of the most improbable Super Bowls in NFL history in 2008 and 2012. Both times beating Tom Brady's Patriots and both times winning Super Bowl MVP. And let's not forget about his mom and siblings. Ellen was a middle hitter on Sacred Heart's volleyball team and led the Cardinals to their school's first ever state title in 1986. Hyde is Arch's younger brother and is also a quarterback at Isidore Newman. The oldest sibling, May, has made a name for herself in volleyball at the Academy of Sacred Heart, winning Best Player in Division IV and winning Most Outstanding Player in 2020. In 2019, Arch was a freshman on the varsity football team at Isidore Newman, where his grandfather, father, uncles, and siblings all attended. Arch was listed at 6'2" and around 180 pounds, and the first freshman to ever start at quarterback for Newman. In Arch's first regular season game, he went 22 for 34 for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. Some debut. For only a freshman, it was his maturity and pocket presence that stood out to not only everyone watching, but the coaches too. Although Arch was on varsity, off the field he wanted to ride the freshman bus, stay at the end of the warm-up line with all the other freshmen, and go to the JV games. He took the position from senior Bo Adams, who became one of Newman's best receivers. Newman's head coach Nelson Stewart said there was no drama between Adams and Arch, and Bo would even drive Arch home since he wasn't old enough to drive. Nelson said that Arch wanted to support all his friends. Manning ended his freshman year with 2,407 yards and 34 touchdowns, earning Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year honors. After that season, Arch was featured in a Sports Illustrated article titled "All Eyes on Arch Manning" to extend family's QB dynasty. Arch not only plays football, but he plays basketball too. He wasn't a starter or a general on the court like on the football field, but Arch's role in the hardwood was a role player, diving for loose balls, getting rebounds, playing defense. His greatest asset on the court was his passing, which is fitting for a 5-star quarterback. He was on varsity for his first 3 years at Newman, but not his senior year when he had already committed. After a huge freshman year on the gridiron, Arch was named the number 1 QB prospect in the 2023 class. He opened up sophomore year with 6 touchdowns at East Jefferson High School. On October 15, 2020, Arch made his national broadcast debut against Booker T. Washington. He went off, throwing 2 touchdowns and rushing for 2 more. All year long, he displayed his leadership, cannon, and speed from start to finish, and led the Greenies to a perfect 8-0 record in the regular season. However, Newman's season halted in the semis against Lafayette Christian Academy. At the start of his junior year, Arch Manning was named team captain among 3 seniors: offensive tackle Bo Bordelon, defensive back Chris Hunter, and offensive lineman Hale Martin. He was only the 3rd junior in Newman history to be named team captain, joining Peyton Manning and Jay Tyler, who graduated in 2015 and went on to play for Stanford. As a junior, Arch and the Greenies went 7-3 and made it to the Louisiana Division III state semis, but their run ended when they lost to Lafayette Christian Academy again. Even though they came up short, Arch put up staggering numbers once again. Through his first 3 high school seasons, he totaled more than 6,000 passing yards and 81 passing touchdowns, while only throwing 18 picks. On top of that, he also rushed for more than 700 yards and 20 touchdowns, bringing his total TD count to 101 in just 3 seasons. In high school, Manning didn't have any social media, he did almost no interviews, and he didn't accept recruiting offers. During the recruitment process, Arch Manning stayed quiet. When college coaches would offer scholarships, Coach Stewart would politely have to say, "There's no offer to give because there's no offer to receive." Even though the Mannings are very protective and private about Arch, colleges always tried to reach the Mannings. During a 7-on-7 tournament on LSU's campus, former LSU coach Ed Orgeron and his staff spent most of the time trying to win the hearts of the Mannings. 24/7 sports recruiting reporter Shay Dixon said, "I haven't seen LSU coaches put that attention on a senior, let alone a kid who just finished 8th grade." Arch had a long list of colleges that he considered and that were interested in him. Powerhouses like Georgia, Bama, LSU, Clemson, and Ole Miss were just a few of the schools calling. There was speculation he'd go to Ole Miss and continue the Manning legacy like his grandfather and Uncle Eli, or head to Knoxville and the University of Tennessee like his Uncle Peyton. But the idea of paving his own lane and becoming a Longhorn caught Arch's eye. On June 23, 2022, Arch Manning announced on Twitter that he had committed to the University of Texas. No special ceremony, no video, no fireworks, just a single tweet. With his commitment in the rearview mirror, Arch had unfinished business for his senior year at Newman. After another spectacular season, Newman went 7-2 and earned another first-round bye as the 1 seed. They had a blowout win in the second round against Sophie B. Wright, where Manning was throwing bomb after bomb to win 44-13. Things were looking great. However, they had their biggest test yet against a powerhouse and university laboratory school. Arch and the team struggled from the get-go. The Cubs took a 28-0 lead in the third quarter and finished the game 49-13. To his disappointment, Arch ended his high school football career without winning a state championship in his 4 years. Although Newman came up short, the personal records are undeniable. On October 1st, 2021, Arch Manning made history when he broke the records of not just one, but both of his uncles. Before that game, people knew Arch only needed 110 yards to break Eli's record at 7,389 yards. However, people weren't expecting that he would break another record. That night, Arch threw for 356 yards and 7 touchdowns, which also broke Peyton's record of 93 career touchdowns. And 5 of those touchdowns occurred in the first half. Now, the Manning family was of course proud of Arch, but Eli had to troll him with a tweet that read, "But how many of those passing yards did he throw from under center? I had 7,000. Arch also had his first known NIL deal with Panini America, the world's largest sports and entertainment collectibles company. The deal is focused on autographed trading cards, and Panini held an auction for a one-of-one trading card called the Manning Prism card that sold for over $100,000. This is their highest selling card, beating out NBA star Luka Doncic's one-of-one that sold for $100K. The proceeds from this card benefited underserved children and families in Texas through both St. David's Foundation and St. David's Healthcare. Arch won't be taking any money from NIL quite yet though. His grandfather Archie said, "You can take NIL money when you become a player, when you start." They may share a last name, but Arch's game is different than his uncle's. Arch Manning's playstyle is said to be most like his grandfather, Archie. Peyton and Eli were more known as pocket passers, but his grandfather Archie was more known for his ability to not only drop back, but also make plays on the run. Eli said himself that Arch is more athletic and bigger than he and Peyton were when they were in high school. Arch says he watches a lot of film of his uncles and grandfather and looks up to how Peyton attacked the film room, how Eli was cool and clutch under pressure, and how Archie scrambled around the pocket. There's a ton of pressure when it comes to being called the next great Manning, but Arch has answered the bell at every turn. He earned the starting QB job as a freshman in high school, breaking his family's records on the way. He was named top QB in his class and chose the historic University of Texas, a program with a tradition of winning, but hasn't been able to replicate their success of the 2000s. The name is pressure, the school is pressure, The expectations are pressure, but Arch Manning looks generational. And there's a feeling that we're witnessing the early chapters to the next great Manning.
Overtime Fits keeps blessing me with all these fits, and you can cop them too. Head over to the OT shop and peep some of these new drops. All you gotta do is click the link below.